Thank you all so much for being here for SOAR's HIV Awareness event. What prompted this event, and I don't want to say an event, this is a moment, beginning of a tour that we're getting ready to do here in Outwayne, because Inkster, Romulus, Westland, and Garden City are responsible for 1/3 of the HIV cases in Wayne County. And even though that is a doom and gloom to a certain extent, it's really not, because there is help and there is hope. And we want to bring that awareness to the community, that this is not a death sentence, that there is a community of folks that are here for anyone that is going through this situation. There's testing, there's all kinds of things that are available. So we're here today to explore what prevention and safe practices look like. We're here to talk about testing and early detection. Again, as well, community support and resources, and also the aspect of mental health that can be at play here as well. So again, thank you all for being here. We want to thank our panel, and we will get to know our panel a little bit more as well. But first, we are grateful to have our keynote speaker. Mia Reed is a dynamic advocate, wellness leader, and community builder who believes that thriving is a radical act of self-love. As the founder of Thriving in Mahogany, Mia has created a healing-centered social space where Black women can reconnect, release, and rise. I'm gonna say that again. Where Black women can reconnect, release, and rise through peer support, real talk, which is needed, and whole body wellness practices. Crowned Miss Exquisite Full Figured USA of Michigan in 2023. Mia uses her platform. Yes, please, let's show some love. Let's show some love. Pastor, if you want to come on in, we can welcome you right up here to the front. And please, let's show some love in the middle of this bio for Pastor Duckworth, who is so graciously open the door to the church for us. And so we thank you. My apologies for interrupting this bio. This is a go with the flow moment this morning. However, Mia uses her platform to break beauty barriers, celebrate self-love at every side, and empower women to reclaim their joy and voice. Her journey through pageantry amplified her mission to show that size, background, or stigma should never be barriers to thriving. Please put your hands together and show some love for this amazing keynote speaker that we have with us today, Mia Reed.
Okay, please don't disrupt the panel though.
Learn some stuff. Yes, praise the Lord. Everybody's HIV possible.
It's a light, actually. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Mia Reed, and I come before you today not to be long, but to give you a message. And the message is, HIV does not come in the package in which you all think that it does. It comes in many shapes, sizes, and outcomes. And most of the time, due to stigma, most people think HIV is a same-gender loving diagnosis. But in reality, everyone in this room is HIV possible, as LaDon has stated. And so to bring that to reality, I stand before you as a woman living with HIV. I do not fit any standard stigma or stereotype as to what that looks like. I am a Black woman. I am married. I have children before and after. My husband is fully aware. I was not a sex worker. I have never used drugs. I have not been in a relationship with a man that had sex with men, to my knowledge, and I have to add that disclaimer, got tested regularly. I use condoms. I am pro-life, and I still stand before you with that as my diagnosis, obliterating every stigma that is associated with a person living with HIV. My journey in this started about 13 years ago, and it was a really tough journey. It went through a lot of depression and a lot of internalized stigma, and I didn't give anybody a chance to stigmatize me outside of myself because I had already heard it. Before I got here, I didn't need to hear it again. I've seen the videos, I've watched the what was that, Martin or whatever, when Chili had it, and HE hockey sticks broke out when she told them. And I've had those conversations with my friend about the package and give and how we would kill ourselves if it ever happened to us. I've watched the movies and I've heard the speeches, and yet I'm here. And I couldn't deal with that. And it wasn't based on anybody's else decision but my own. Even though I had done everything that I thought that I was supposed to do, I was there. And I had to sit with that and deal with that. But in the midst of it is where my journey to thrive began, and my journey to life accelerated. Because up until then, I was just existing, I was living to die, and now I'm living to thrive. I am no longer just here existing on the plane. I have a mission, I have a goal, and I'm here to inspire everyone to be a light for anyone that is in darkness. And for that, I am forever grateful. You don't hear many people say HIV saved their life, so let me break that stigma as well. HIV saved my life. That diagnosis changed my life. I was headed down a road that probably would have killed me faster than this one is. I was out all night, I was drinking, I was God knows where, to be honest, because me and my friend often laughed about being places and not really knowing how we ended up there. And we tell our children, like, God really saved us. Like, it was one time we was on the east side of Detroit, and it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and we were high outside of our mind, even though we only drink and did weed. This lady came out, we were talking to some guys, and this lady came out with a gun, and she was like, what the blah, blah, blah. I can't say all the words because where we are, but y'all can use y'all imaginations. And we couldn't even react. Like, could you imagine, like, you reacting in your mind, but your body is in slow mode? And so we standing there like, what's going on? And she like, what is wrong with you? She like, thank God I'm not the person that I just portrayed that I was, because if this was a real situation, you and your friend would be dead. We were 17 years old. We, one, had no reason to be on East Warren. Let's just start right there. Especially at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we on biker shorts and see-through tops, and we was fried outside our mind. We had went to the 7-Eleven and filled the big gulp up with slushies, halfway with slushies, and the other half up with Absolute. We was in for a good time and a long time. And it could have costed us our lives, but we couldn't even realize that. But those are one of the moments we reflect on today, like, ooh, God really covered us. And when I say that I wouldn't have been here, I mean it. Like, my motto used to be, well, I don't have any kids. I didn't have kids till I was 30. And I lived largely by, I don't have any kids. I don't throw it up in the air. Anything can happen. I could sleep on the couch. I could sleep in the car. I could move from here to there. I didn't have roots or anything. I was really just existing. And so this diagnosis and the internalized stigma of it made me sit down with myself and fall in love with myself. I had to get to know who I was truly inside and out. And not just surface, oh, I'm so cute, oh, look at my hair. No, I had to take off my mask, because when my hair fell out, I didn't even have the hair to hide behind. So I had to figure out who Mia really was and love her unconditionally. And it's through that Thriving in Mahogany was birthed, and it's the same practices. And I have support and the most help, all of y'all all here, thank y'all. From SIMHAC, which is who I'm here representing today. They are a family. And even though sometimes we don't always get along.
Man.
Love them, true and through, real family. It was one of the first places that I went after my diagnosis and was like, this is what it's like, being accepted, not feeling stigmatized, like no judgment, seriously. And that has only accelerated my journey to thrive. And I would like to take as many people to thriving as possible through SIMHAC and through other means like speaking. But I really want you all to know, because we are all HIV possible, that you have to get testing. Condoms doesn't always work, especially if you take them off when they change positions. I can't go into too many details about that either because of where I'm at. Or if it's something on the skin, condoms don't always protect from that. So if you're not getting tested regularly, then chances are you may really need to soon. It is recommended that you do so every 3 months. And as a person that got tested once a year and it still was not enough, I'm gonna recommend that you get tested every 3 months as well. I'm not gonna say the only saving grace is, I have many. Another saving grace in my diagnosis is that I was diagnosed at the time I acquired the disease, or the virus, or y'all call it anything. We don't call it those things. This is for reference. We call it what it is. That was very new then, and they have progressed now with treatment, information, and medication. So hopefully y'all don't get to face some of the things that I had to face in my diagnosis. But I don't want you all to be scared of what can happen on the outside or the other side of the diagnosis, because it does not mean death, it does not mean depression, and it doesn't mean that your life is over. And I'm speaking from real life experience as a person that has cycled through all of those things. And I am here to implore and to empower you all to thrive. Thank you.
Let's give me another hand.
Thank you so much for just sharing your story of resilience with us. We are going to move into our panel. So happy to have with us as our facilitator, Jarrell McCray, who has been a student colleague, what others call intern. And I'll just explain, we don't call our interns. We believe that while they're students, they are leaving a mark with the organization, and they're leaving a body and a legacy of work behind. So that is why we say student colleague. However, Jarrell is from Ohio State University. He's been with us for about a year now and done some amazing work. We did a documentary called Black Men Heal, of which Jarrell put together a workbook for folks to work along that process of healing in their journeys. And so please show some love and put your hands together for Jarrell McCray, who is going to take us further and be our facilitator for the panel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, no, you don't have to do that. Good afternoon, everyone. As Trishay said, my name is Jerome McRae. I am a graduate student. Well, I guess I'm graduating, so I was a graduate student. Getting my master's in social work with emphasis in mental health and substance misuse. It has been an honor working with SOAR this past year and a half. Learning about the various different ways to help the community, especially when it comes to harm reduction. Once again, it was just very honored to do that. As Trishay said, I will be moderating this panel. And we have 5 wonderful people up here who will help, provide information about HIV awareness. I am going to introduce themselves because I feel like that's way more engaging versus y'all hearing me speak and talk about them this entire time, since I will be moderating this whole thing. So with that, I'm going to start to my right. So Mia, if you'd like to introduce yourself one more time, just real quick, and then we'll go Marlena and down the line.
Mia. Okay. Hi, it's me again. My name is Mia Reed. I will be a panelist for today. Y'all already heard my bio.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Marlene. I am a person living with HIV. It's been 19 years, give or take. I do a lot of work in the community. I'm also a part of SAMHAC. I am a peer recovery coach with Hungary Health as well as Common Ground.
Good afternoon, Pastor Duckworth, an advocate and one who believes in justice and love for everyone.
Hey everyone, Ashley Shukai. I'm a harm reductionist, public health. Oh, I got a mask on, my bad. Okay, I'm a harm reductionist and a public health consultant, a person who is in recovery and also uses drugs and is within Southeast Michigan.
I am Valerie Kelly Bonner, founder and executive director of Strategies to Overcome Obstacles and Avoid Recidivism, more commonly known as SOAR. And I am glad to be here, and also thank Brother Duckworth for his partnership, for being a social justice pastor, for being one of the pastors who believes that everybody is somebody.
That's right.
He meets people where they are, and it's never been an instance where we've come to him with a project such as this that involves community that he did not open up the doors of his church and become involved. For that, I am extremely grateful and honored to be here.
Amen.
All right, can we get another hand clap for our panelists, please? All right, cool. So I just want to do a rundown on how this panel will go. So I have a few questions here. Some are targeted to specific people. However, that does not mean that if you would like to chime in, if it's not targeted to you, you can chime in as well. But let's just kick this off with my opening question. This is for anybody on the panel to answer. So our first question here is, HIV awareness has come a long way, but stigma and misinformation still exists. What is one common misconception about HIV that you think we still need to challenge today?
Just a little wonky. Like, if I have to choose one, it would be that you're gonna die. That is still one of the biggest misconceptions that you have, and it's not just you're gonna die is all encompassing. Like, your life is over, you will never fall in love, you can't have kids, you won't be happy, you won't live healthy. Like, it's like a downhill snowball effect into hell eternally. Like, and I am the epitome, like, I am here to diminish that as much as possible. So from just me and her alone, y'all can see that that is not the case at all. And I am here specifically to defeat that one, as well as women don't get HIV. It's men's disease, or specifically a gay man's disease. I don't like using disease, but that is the term that is used. Women can acquire HIV as well, but we can all thrive from that. So that would, I say, would be the biggest two, and I couldn't separate them because they are both really, really big.
I guess from some within the religious community, I would say, is that this virus, disease, whatever you may call it, is something that people deserve because of what they do and how they ran into contacting it. And I think that's one of the biggest myths and one of the pillars that need to be broken down and erased.
Yeah, I think as someone who has a close friend who has HIV, I think that the fear that he had was definitely, oh, my life is over. And being a supporter of him and making sure that I was able to, you know, give him the resources that he needs to make sure that, you know, it's not the end of the world. There's so many people out there who live with it and do wonderful things and great things. So I think that is definitely one of the stigmas and challenges that we that as a society still struggle with. So thank you for bringing that up, as well as you, as well as the faith part of that as well. That you deserve it. No one deserves it. Things do happen. And I think it's just moving forward, looking at the positives instead of the negatives. But thank y'all for sharing. So we'll move on to our next question here. This kind of focuses on harm reduction and public health, so I'm looking to my left. Our first question is, harm reduction plays a vital role in HIV prevention. What strategies like syringe access or overdose prevention do you think are most impactful in reducing spread of HIV?
So, you know, the big basics are making sure individuals are not sharing syringes, making sure individuals are not sharing syringes, waters, and like the tiny little details of even pipes. Making sure that individuals understand safer sex, you know, in terms of like, wait, if you're gonna have oral sex, wait to brush your teeth, or don't do it right after. Like these tiny little details that we have so much societal stigma about to discuss with people, those are those gaps that harm reductionists tend to provide deeper level education in.
Outside of the fact of what individuals can do to protect themselves, I think we need additional protections. I don't think that those things should be criminalized. And that stops a lot of people from doing what they should do. For instance, you know, if you get caught with a needle and it has some trace amounts in it, you're criminalized. If you get caught with a needle that has no trace amounts in it, they can be clean. You can be criminalized depending on who you are and where you are and what's going on with you. There is so much fear associated with the lifestyle within that community that I think we need to dispel a lot of the myths. We need better legislation. We need better protections for those of us who are doing the work. So it's not just you being afraid of being caught with supplies or anywhere, we are afraid also. Because if we end up in the wrong community where the ordinances or the legislation is not in our favor, we can be criminalized also. You know, so we see all of these campaigns coming, you know, federally, statewide, countywide, harm reduction works, let's pass out Narcan or whatever, when we're running an underground railroad to try to save lives so that we aren't criminalized.
All right. And to kind of follow up with that, how do you see substance use and mental health intersecting with HIV risk? And what approaches have you seen work in addressing these overlapping challenges?
I think a lot of it is empowering individuals, right? And like finding ways that work for them. I don't think, you know, in terms of when we discuss substance use and mental health, that a lot of times people are surviving because of their substance use.
Come on now.
And, you know, if we have everything against us, right, and like these various intersections of oppression and criminalization, if people are just surviving, why aren't we empowering them to survive in a way that works for them and their communities?
That's right.
One thing perpetuates another, right? So they're all a part of the whole. And I think when we try to separate them, you know, what annoys me the most is when I hear the word substance abuse.
Yes.
You know, some people choose to use, so it's just substance use. You know, it's someone's opinion whether or not I'm abusing or not, or misusing or not. You know, it's just substance use. So we have a lot of microaggressions associated with this as well, because we make a lot of assumptions even with the terminology that we are using.
That's right.
You know, some people choose to use, and it's okay.
That's right.
You know, so another thing is, as Ashley said, education. And I'm not gonna call this a problem, because I do agree if people choose to use that's their choice, but in the context of mainstream language, those closer to the problem are closer to the solution. And therefore, we need more people, and so my philosophy is nothing for them without them. If you've never shot heroin, then you can't talk about what shooting heroin is about. You know, if you haven't performed sex work, you don't know what performing sex work is about. You know, so you need to bring the people to the table that have the lived experience and make them feel comfortable. Pay them for their time and expertise so they can tell their stories.
Yes, there you go.
You know, and that's the problem. And then looking through the lens of, you know, walking into a brick and mortar building to seek help. I'm not coming into your clinic and tell you that I have HIV, and then, you know, your questionnaire, your intake form asks me everything, how many times I've lost my teeth a day or whatever, when I just want to be healthy.
Right.
You know, but you have to dig into my past, and me telling you that could jeopardize me losing my kids. Me telling you that could also have me connected to another agency. Maybe I have a warrant somewhere and I don't want to tell you all my personal business. So, you know, all of these things are interconnected. We need to just sit down and decide how we're going to keep people healthy in a low barrier, non-criminalized way.
Yes.
I kind of want to piggyback off of what she said. First, language. Even with, like, dealing with HIV, we always talk about the language barriers. But a person that's also in recovery and also has been in recovery, for me personally, I don't like to say abuse, because I don't use anything. I just slightly use some things. But I typically like to take out the word abuse, because it can be used in so many different languages in so many different ways. So I'm a person that likes to use
And I'ma just sum it up. I think for mental health and any of these things that we're speaking of, if we stop trying to put people in a box and just treat people what they are as they are, which is human and as people first, then all of the rest of it will come. In my experience, we're looking where to put people and how to treat them or mistreat them according to what category they fall in, and you're never gonna collect anybody like that, because I'm never gonna tell you everything about me. But if you work on treating me as a human being, then 9 times out of 10, or I'm really 10 times out of 10 for real. 10 times out of 10, you will get to know the whole me. And there are no programs, there are no agencies, there is no system in place like that. They are considered feel-good programs, and they are taken away, and we are put back in boxes. So it's almost, it perpetuates the stigma we're trying to break. So it's almost like it's no end, it's only a continuous cycle.
Yeah, one thing that I learned while being here at SOAR is experience trumps over textbooks and theory. And then having people's lived in experience is more impactful than what any textbook has ever had. So like to Val's point, and Mia's point, everyone's point, is having people who have that lived experience come to the table to tell what they need in order to help benefit them and help support them to move forward. Because I think that one, everyone is different, everybody's experience is different. So I think taking all those experiences and making the resources that we need can help everyone as a whole. So thank y'all for that. Now we're going to navigate into our next cluster of questions. These are faith-based and community leadership. So yes, this is going to go to the right. So faith and community organizations have a strong influence on health conversations. What are some of the barriers or opportunities in engaging in these spaces in HIV awareness and prevention?
I think first and foremost, there has to be a perspective of individuals with HIV from Christ.
Amen.
From Jesus, not the Americanized Jesus, but the authentic, original Jesus that loves everyone regardless of their circumstance and situation, and that if one has been created by God, there's a certain amount of respect and love that is due that individual. So I think the first thing churches have not always been good at, particularly when it relates to this topic, this subject, is that we were more so in the, you sin, you got the results of your sin, that's what you get. And we were in that mode for a long time. And unfortunately, many churches are still in that mode, but they just don't say a whole lot about it. So you don't really hear HIV, you don't really hear AIDS, you don't really hear that conversation because they just rather not talk about it. But we have individuals whose lives have been changed, and they need to be able to, I just believe the church should have the answer to everything. And no matter what I'm dealing with, no matter what I'm going through, the church is the one place where I should be able to go and get uplifted regardless of my circumstance, because God loves me too. That's what we preach, that's what we tell people, but that's not always the way we exhibit ourselves. And so it is important for us to really take on the least of these attitude for the faith community, and that's one of the things that drives me. Whether a person does drugs or not, whether a person is gay or not, whether a person has HIV or not, as long as that person has been created by God, I have a commitment to love and respect that person as God's creation. And if there are some things about that person that need to be changed, if God doesn't change it, the change is not gonna happen.
Hey, now, hallelujah. Hey,
It's not gonna
come
happen.
on now.
So in the meantime,
Hey!
my job is to love them and to serve them because they bring something to the table and they have value because they've been created by God. So that's one of the barriers I think that sometimes happens. We're not true to the authentic Christ of loving everyone. That's the problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Praise the Lord. Amen. Oh.
You know, I want to say this too, and I've prefaced this before, that I don't feel like any of these things are problems, right? They're lifestyles and people live their lives the way that they want. But for those under religiosity, I just want to make this point. Every miracle in the Bible began with a problem.
Girl, say it again. I knew you was fabulous. Girl, they don't understand.
Every miracle in the Bible began with a problem. And so if you think this is a problem,
Look at the miracle.
then you waiting on a miracle.
Look at the miracle.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm about to go tell all them to take that.
And then, okay, so related to that, stigma is still deeply rooted in the community and face spaces, as we mentioned. What can these leaders do to help break down that stigma and create more supportive environments for those living with or at risk?
We have to be intentional. One of the problems that this nation hasn't figured out yet as they try to erase DEI and all this other foolishness is that in order to change what has been put in place, you have to be intentional on the change. You can't just hope it away. You can't just pray it away. You're going to have to work it away. And so what needs to happen is events like this where people are not, be honest, particularly in our community, we were not really honest with the whole concept. Because when it initially came out, it was, years ago, it was thought to be a gay white man's disease. And so we sort of stepped back, then it started, that's when you had all the activity from Washington and the quilts and all that kind of stuff. When was the last time you heard anything about that? Because now the color has changed. And so as a church, as a faith community, we have to break the stigma again that it happened because someone necessarily did something wrong or was sinful or they got what they deserve. We cannot put God in a situation where God is like with a fly swatter, and the minute you act up, God's zapping you. We have to erase that, but that has been the commentary for so long. And I have gone to summits in this nature where individuals with HIV conversations begin in faith communities, and I never shall forget one sister. She's going on, she's made a transition now, but she shared how she shared her status with her pastor. And the pastor changed the sermon for that Sunday and preached on her and then called her name out loud at the end of the service, and it was mortifying to not only her, but her children as they got ready to get on the bus, and then no one wanted to be around them. Now, it literally brought tears to my eyes, and it was at that point that I decided that I would never be in that camp. If I had to stand alone and be called all kind of names, I'd rather do that and show love and make it be known. I will preach sermons about HIV and AIDS from time to time so that the people here are consistently aware, and the fact that if individuals are in the congregation and we may not know that they have that status, that they don't have to run, they don't have to feel bad about it, they can find love here, and it's gonna start with me. We're gonna love them, we're gonna support them, and whatever we can do to help them, to lift them up, that's what it's all about. So in order to break the stigmatism of that, the faith leaders have to be intentional about showing love regardless.
Yes, that's my brother.
Love it.
That's my pastor.
Whatever.
Now, Pastor Duckworth is, I'm gonna say 2 in a million, because I only have a handful that feel this passionate about this. So when I say this, it's not to you. It's true. In my experience, I believe it needs to start with the faith leaders remembering where Jesus was. I think when y'all get in leadership, they forget that Jesus wasn't at the top. He was down with the scragglers. He was finding the lost sheep. He was turning those lessons into miracles. That he used everybody that everybody wrote off and turned them into something powerful. And then we get in these faith spaces and we're coming trying to essentially touch the hem of Jesus's garment. Woo. And the door is slammed in our face and we're turned away and we're shunned like we have leprosy. Do y'all remember what Jesus did when he had leprosy? Because I don't think that they read the same Bible that they teach us to read or that we talk about on Wednesdays at Bible study. And it's easy for you to say, oh, Jesus said this in the Bible. And then I read it. I read it a couple of times. I read a couple versions of it. But then you stop at the one. Like, don't stop at the one verse. Put it all in context. Because that is what you also taught me in Bible study. To put it in context. So let's put it in context. Yes, he said we should not fornicate, but he didn't say write y'all off and say that everything that happened to you after then, you deserve it and should rot in hell and burn for it. Because he never said that. He never turned his back. He never forsake us. And he never taught the faith-based leadership to do that to us either. But somehow along their way, they forgot, and now they are better than Jesus. Now, if Jesus was to return today, he would come back and speak against these faith-based leaders. And I don't think that they, I don't think they realize that they are what we are fighting against in Christ. That y'all are preventing us. Y'all are leading us away from Christ. You are supposed to be building an army. You are supposed to be teaching us the word. And instead, you are using it as a dagger to take life out of us at every end. And if we have something to offer, you'll get that first, and then you'll crush us. And that is literally goes against everything I ever learned in the Bible, everything Christ and Jesus was like. And it never taught them that. And then y'all want to do that to me, and then when I don't come and pay 10%, you want to say my name in the sermon and tell me I don't believe. But y'all have taken away everything that I had to believe in because I made a mistake. Or because I don't fit the ideal Christian that even you don't fit based on the Bible that we read together in church. Based on what y'all taught me that Jesus was. Based on what y'all taught me Christianity was. Based on how y'all taught and learned me the Bible. Y'all are not these things. So I think the first thing they need to do is take their own advice. They need to practice what they preach. Maybe they need to stop preaching and sit down and go back and restudy and learn what it really is. Because at some point, they became bigger than the Bible. Now they are Jesus. Now they the Father. Now they the Son. Because it definitely say don't judge me because you live in a glass house too. So if you judging me and turning me away, how that get you closer to Christ? How are you getting me closer to Christ? It's not happening. So it's like the stigma y'all want us to do is the exact stigma that's keeping us from here. So is I almost want to ask them, like, are you leading me to Christ, or are you here to lead me away from Christ? So I think first we need to find leaders to lead people to Christ, and that would be the first thing I would tell the leaders, because that's not what's going on right now.
Yes.
I feel like you said that you wasn't gonna drop the mic by.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, I think y'all made some very valid points when it comes to faith-based communities. I don't have anything else to add, so I'm just gonna let y'all. Oh, wait. No.
So I just want to say, you know, in the religious context, we've been wearing masks long before COVID.
Amen.
And the biggest shout moment, the biggest flex will be for you to unmask yourself and hold yourself accountable.
That's right.
And I think it would be easy to do that if you give the grace that you want to receive.
That's right.
You know, I had someone that I called a sister, and she was apostolic, and she would just answer the phone like, praise the Lord, you know, just overzealous with God is good or whatever, but then go hide in the bathroom and smoke cigarettes. And the list of things goes on, and I'm not judging her, but I'm saying, you know, but she would judge others about the way that they live. You know, sweep around your own front door.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know, worry about what you're doing. Take accountability for your own actions. Because to be honest, every single one of us have fallen short of the glory of the Lord. So if we base it on that, you know, sitting younger, she pregnant, so sit her down. You know, she can't sing in the choir because she pregnant.
Baby!
She can't do this because of that. You know, whatever, then everybody needs to sit down. Just once we leave, just lock the door. And don't nobody need to be there.
Amen.
So I just think we need to extend the grace that we want to receive
Yes.
as a practice, but especially if someone has HIV, especially if someone's a victim of domestic violence, especially if someone chooses to use drugs. Sugar is a drug. You know, how many people gotta have a piece of cake or a
Right.
Pepsi or something? So we all addicted to something.
And he is.
Sex is a drug.
And he is.
Hey, we all addicted to something. We all like what we like. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to judge someone. Like Michael Jackson say, I'm talking to the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways.
Amen.
And so that would be for me too.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, cool. Thank y'all for that. So moving to our next cluster of questions here. This is for anybody. It's based on social justice and community impact. So how does addressing systematic issues like mass incarceration, housing insecurity, or racial inequality connect to HIV prevention efforts?
Okay, so if we are continuously criminalizing behaviors instead of addressing why people are living in conditions that they are, why they are lacking resources, there's this continuous situation that we see. Westland's one of them, right? Where if I'm criminalized for my syringe, right, then I'm going to hide it or I'm going to throw it on the ground. And then I'm going to continuously engage in behaviors that are higher risk for myself and for others in the community, only to escape, right, from going to jail, being put into withdrawals. Then I'm going to leave whatever facility, like there's this continuous cycle that occurs in these communities, and HIV is criminalized. So if I have more than 5 condoms on me when I'm walking around, I'm gonna be picked up for soliciting. And that piece right there of this continuous, why am I going to jail, is just so problematic and outweighing and throughout, you know, Michigan and throughout the different states. So until we start to really decriminalize poverty, decriminalize sex work, decriminalize drugs and all these other capacities, we're gonna continuously feed into a mass incarceration cycle and this treatment industrial complex that goes on under the guise of, you know, diversion and other types of programs that feed into mass incarceration.
I think we need to recognize that the issues at hand really don't have a color.
Yes.
But they will paint them a color, you know,
Uh-huh.
they become BIPOC issues. Example, when crack was killing us, there was no antidote, we didn't have no Narcan to put up in the nose, you know, to stop those overdoses or whatever. It didn't become, and even what it was called has changed. Now it's a disease.
Yes.
Because it affected the white community more. And so now we have this antidote, and it's free, and we're gonna give you this Narcan, and we're gonna save lives, and I'm all for it, you know, but we have to recognize that until it happens to them, it's gonna be criminalized. Until it happens to them, and when I say them, our Caucasian siblings, when it happens to them, the perspective of it changes.
Yes.
It changes. You know, I had a conversation with someone, you know, one of our comrades in the field was killed. And, you know, people were coming after me on the post saying this and that about the black community or whatever. So I responded and said, look, don't worry about what's going on in the black community. We know we have our issues. You should be trying to find out who the next school shooter gonna be in your community.
Yeah.
So we all have our problem.
Amen.
Now, if we want to come together and be honest about what the problems are, because at the core of either instance is mental health.
That's right.
But let's not think that we're so far beyond, or it's their problem, or it's a political issue. No, it is about rights. It is about mental health. It is about good health.
That's right.
It is about coming together to try to come up with solutions that fit everyone. It has no color, and let's stop painting it a color.
And I'll just piggyback on that. She is absolutely right. At the heart of it is mental health. But the best way to end the cycle is to stop it. And currently we are finding ways to make it prettier and to make it easier, but we have not included enough of peers to actually end the cycle. And I think a lot of the stuff that they do would be to make the cycle easier for us. Like, the saying is some people just wanna act like they wanna help, but that they don't really wanna do that. And I think that is essentially what's happening. It was never actually meant for us to succeed in this cycle. So as long as we keep trying to fix it, we're never going to succeed. We need to actually try to recreate the wheel, and that's not a saying most people want to do, but that is what we have to. If we know that the system was never created for us to succeed, and it was literally created into what it is now based on the liberties that we were given along the way, then how can we expect it to change or be different? We need to do something outside of the system, and I think we have all became so comfortable in here with these programs that make us forget that we're in a cycle that was never set up for us to succeed. And so that is the definition of insanity. So it's no wonder why mental health is at the heart of it all, because we keep doing the same thing over and over and over, except expecting a different result. And that by definition is insanity. So unless we do something different and get off the wheel, we're gonna continue to go insane.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I think that the powers that be don't want it to change. I think that they want to paint certain populations as the villain, as it's a problem in certain populations, and to keep that stigma and keep that going to make them look better in certain cases. So that was my little 2 cents. Our next question is still focused on social justice. In your community or in your work or your community, How have you seen HIV prevention tied to the broader fight for social justice? How can we make sure these conversations reach the audiences who need them the most?
I can only speak from experience, and in my experience, I do things like this. And not just at churches, I do public speaking, everywhere essentially. You can book me via email. I do my own tabling, even though I'm here with SIMHAC and Higera through Thrive, which is the shirt I have on, is the outreach division of Thrive and Mahogany. And I go out individually to places that we don't usually see us. So I'm pretty the glam part of it, if you can't tell. So I go to fashion shows, cause I'm a model as well, and no one is there. I'm the only one passing out condoms, lube, education. Sometimes I have at-home HIV kits. I connect to testing. If people need assistance, I do, I connect them to resources, and I am always advertising. I either have on my shirt, I have a Stigma fighter shirt, I pass out condoms with everything. I do arts and crafts, so I make t-shirts, I do diaper cakes, and with anything that you get from me, you're gonna get a flyer and you're gonna get some condoms. Now, it's up to you if you wanna use them or if you pass them along, but I use every opportunity that I come in contact with someone as an opportunity to educate. Almost, because they don't slam the door on me, almost like a Jehovah's Witness, but I try to make sure that it's like friendly and that it's welcoming, but if you can't tell from my personality, I don't get too many people that don't accept what I have to offer, but it is amazing how many people never offer the conversation, never have the conversation, and how many people really didn't know about HIV. Like, a lot of people still call it a disease and all of that, but HIV is a medical condition. What's so hard about saying, oh, I heard you have a medical condition? Like, conversations like that, I don't have to do this with. We can have it at the grocery store. We can have it at church. If my friend had unprotected sex and I'm like, girl, what you need? I might have a morning after pill. I might know where she can go get tested in 72 hours. I might need to tell her about PEP, which is well, it's too late at that point, but a post-exposure, I was about to say PrEP, but PEP is a post-exposure prophylaxis, which a person can take after having unprotected sex and they don't know if their partner that they had sex with had HIV or not. But you need 48, 72 hours. Those are conversations need to be had, and I don't mind having them. I'm always on Facebook. I go live. I put condoms all on there. I pretty much am a walking billboard because no one is doing it. And although I have become empowered by my situation, I still don't want nobody else to have to go through any of what I went through, because mentally, everyone can't come back from that. And honest to God, I almost didn't. Like, it's literally by the grace of God, I came from it. I was in a mental hell, and that is a place many people never come out of. So if I can help the next person or 3 people or even plant a seed, I'm gonna take that opportunity. And I think we don't think about it that way. And you get, my friends are here, y'all done heard them all night. Y'all can ask them, I'm using every single last, I'll pass out a t-shirt, because if they see it, oh, well, what is this? And what does that mean? Oh, well, let me tell you, I'm glad you asked. My daughter was on the phone with her friends on FaceTime, and my front room is full of condoms and stuff, and so she brought me the phone like, my friends want to know why you have all of these condoms and lube, and what is all of this stuff? And I was like, oh, well, I'm glad you asked. I'm a sex health worker, and the condoms for this, and do you need some? Like, do you know how to use them? Do you need me to show you? are you having sex? Do you have any questions? And that's because I didn't get that. They didn't talk about sex with me. Like, I have daughters. Like, I don't want any of what I had to experience to be the same barriers that my daughter had to cross over. Like, that's insane too to me. Like, I didn't go through them for you to have to cross them. I went through them so that you would never have to. So with that being said, I'm going to take every opportunity to make sure that if I can help a woman not acquire HIV, I am. If I can help a man, I am. If I'm an educated kid on what to do with a condom and how to get it, I am. And I think that's what it is. We're not using the opportunities put before me. I pass out flyers at the liquor store. Y'all sell condoms for $3. Can I put a bowl out here to give them away for free? I put for the pageant. I put them in the store I bought my dress from. I had a custom guy. I was like, can I bring some condoms and stuff up here and set them out? And she was just like, I guess. But had I not asked, I would have missed the opportunity. But just because I asked, I helped somebody. I don't know if it was 1 or 12, but I used the opportunities put before me.
Yeah, and I think also that, speaking about HIV, it's taboo, so a lot of people don't want to talk about it in certain spaces, and the lack of education that people have about it. I think everyone wants to talk about it once someone has already contracted it, and that's not always the best thing to do, because, you know, I mean, the pre-stuff, when you talk about it beforehand, it can help prevent people from doing it or learning how to prevent that. Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the lack of education that people have on HIV. They still stuck in that, oh, you know, this, that, and the third about the stigmas and whatnot. And then I work with college students, so I think the way that I help educate them on certain things is through their social media and through technology and stuff. And I think television shows, they're slowly backing away from those conversations like they used to back in the early 2000s. They used to have tons of episodes about HIV, which is where I learned about HIV and learned the stigmas around it and whatnot, and what it is and what it isn't. So I think when it comes to the next, well, that's the next question. But when it comes to education, I think it's a really taboo subject that people are so afraid to speak about, especially here in America, and whatnot, because of the lack of education. But go ahead.
Well, one of the reasons is we can't even talk about sex. So if we can't talk about sex, how can we talk about anything resulting from sex, except for kids, because we can't hide the kids. Everything else, we can hide the pregnancy, and most people do. But once you push out the kids, real hard to hide a stroller. So because we can't, it's taboo to even talk about sex, even though everybody know we're having it, even though everybody know you having it, even though you hiding it, we still can't talk about it. But the pre-conversations is needed, because if a person knows, for instance, like you can take PrEP, which is something that you can take prior to having sex, which will prevent you from acquiring HIV if taken regularly or as prescribed. If that pre-conversation is had and you are aware, then you can protect yourself, because, well, I can't say this, but if you go out and have a 304 phase in college, because that's what you do, like, nothing I can say is gonna stop that, but something I can say can help you have the best possible journey, I guess. They don't want us to use safe either. That's not stigmatizing, because it's stigmatizing that if you don't use it, it's unsafe. So I have to look that one back. Barrier, that's what they use. So you can have a barrier to help you not acquire this medical condition or help someone else, or like if I have it and we wanted to hook up and you did it, a person can get on PrEP. My husband does not do both, because I'm U equals U. And I'm gonna tell y'all, U equals U means undetectable is untransmittable. So as long as I'm taking my medication, no virus is detected in my blood, so there is no virus to transmit. So me and my husband are both protected because I am taking my medication. But if at any time he wants to, or my viral load comes up, he will then get on PrEP, and that will be what protects him on that end. So there's something to protect everybody, because he's not living with his only, my kids aren't either. And those are the type of free conversations we also have to have, 'cause those don't, okay, I'm gonna shut up.
Just to piggyback off of me, as a person that works in a clinic and a person that's living with, everywhere I get an opportunity to educate, pass out condoms, and just to give out information, I'm gonna utilize that. Even on Facebook, when I'm in my office and I'm packing up my bags to give out to my clients, I'm posting a stack full of condoms and letting everybody know on Facebook, hey, if you need it, don't go out and buy it, just come and holler at me, I got it for free. Like, anytime I can educate and give people the knowledge that I have to prevent the next person walking through the same journey that I had to go through, I'm going to utilize that information or whatever tool I can possibly use.
Anybody else?
So I think like in far as like we talk about HIV prevention, and yes, like the education is critical, but another piece is like for social justice, like we need to step up. Like I need my other white siblings to be like, hey, I'm gonna go through this town so nobody catches me, and provide whatever supplies, or the other healthcare providers normalizing, not just condoms, pass out a crack pipe or two, like pass out a syringe, do what you gotta do, because at the end of the day, if you really, really honor that health equity, really wanna talk about making sure our communities are safe, then you gotta figure out a way. I use my mommy van all the time, or my SUV, to be like, I'm gonna go through this community that I know my black colleagues are gonna get stopped, right? And their lives at risk. So if we wanna merge the two, like we really have to have everybody step up and not just when it's convenient. Although I will tell, everybody knows if I post bail, like y'all better help.
As long as you post the bail.
You know, I think, we need to stop waiting until it happens to us. When it becomes personal, people get passionate. You know, don't wait until it happens to you. Find something that matters to you and get on board with that. You know, there are moments in time, but we need to turn those moments into movements. And we need to do something a little bit different. So to me, we want change, but we won't change. And that is going to be the problem. And it will never get solved until we change, until we stop waiting until it becomes personal, until we take action.
Cool. Thank you all. And then our next question here is focusing on education and engaging the next generation. So young people often don't see HIV as an urgent issue today. What are effective ways to engage youth with accurate, non-judgmental information about HIV prevention and safe practices?
Why you gonna look right at me?
Oh, well, I can kick us off since college students are my thing, so I can
I
kick us off
think
unless
safe
one of you want to.
I just wanna say, when can we bring sex education back into the school?
That part.
We got kids out here doing the deed and don't even know what they out here really doing or what they getting themselves into. They're not educated enough to do it, they just wanna be grown. So we need to get sex education back in the school.
That goes back to that taboo thing. People don't want to talk about sex.
She said, kids. I was in the emergency room and I heard this lady on the phone talking to her friend. And she's talking to her best friend like, girl, my uncle's sleeping with our third best friend. And the third best friend had gave the uncle syphilis. And don't forget, and neither one of them, cause they didn't know what syphilis was. They on the phone like, well, what is syphilis? She told my girl, I don't know, I just know it's, she gave it to my uncle. So, with that, it's not funny, but it is. We out here doing stuff that we can get, and we don't even know what that is. So if a person got syphilis and you don't know what syphilis look like, how do you know you got syphilis? In my specific case, when I acquired HIV, it was because I went to the doctor and they was like, you want to get tested? I'm like, heck yeah, well, test me up. When I went and told my partner, I said, my test came back this, I need you to go get tested. He was like, I'm good, I ain't been sick in a year. That ain't even what I asked you. So, I think the knowledge of oneself is something else. If a person don't know what it is that they can get, they don't even know what to look for that they can have. So it's not just sex education, we need sex education plus, because it's not even just sex and STIs, like it is more to having a sexual relationship than just those two things as well. And I think we're missing all of that. And then after that, we don't have a safe space. Like, even if we don't have a safe space, our kids can't go anywhere and talk and be open. They can do that with their friends, but their friends only gonna tell them what their friends wanna tell them. Who gonna give them the real information? Who gonna tell them that Google information they found out ain't real? You gotta look on the third page if you wanna know the real information, or use Bing, or they, like, my cousin was pregnant at 16 and we was sitting up there trying to feel her stomach, like, I don't know, it's hard, do that mean you pregnant? When all we needed was a pregnancy test. We didn't know. We didn't know. She was pregnant. She was pregnant, but we found out she found out because she got in trouble after that, but we found out later because an adult was like, girl, something is wrong with you. Like, you wasn't looking like this a couple months ago. Let me take you to go see what's up. With us, we were just like, well, no, it's just a little hard. I don't think you're pregnant. I think you all right. I think you just need to go to the bathroom. Y'all laugh, it's funny, but at 16, that's all I had. We didn't have sex education, and to us, that was as good as she wasn't pregnant. That was the best pregnancy test until the real one came back and she was. And so I think even if we can't have the talks because they're not gonna put it in schools, and I do know the Detroit Health Department has like a We Are Girls. I don't see a lot for boys. But where are we gonna have an actual safe space? So even if we don't have the talk, they can ask the questions, they can get the information, they can learn that they're not pregnant if their stomach is hard and a little bit soft or whatever it is. Like, I think those type of places are also missing. They have the doctor's office, but my daughter don't feel comfortable asking the doctor anything. She won't even ask them to refill a prescription. And when I look at the text messages between her and her friends, they talk about stuff I didn't even know she knew nothing about. So now I have to go back and be like, well, you know, I went through your phone, and so now we have to have those conversations. Even though I talk about sex all day long and I do all of this stuff, some stuff she's still embarrassed to talk about me. I wish I could send her. Like, here, go in there and talk about all you want to talk about. But it's hard trying to find that. Everybody want to do it because they want to be grown, but nobody actually understand what it is that they doing. And because they're kids, they just like, oh, you kids don't do it, and think that that's enough, and that's not enough. They want to know all the details. Why? What it feel like? Why shouldn't I? Well, what happened? Well, what if I do this? Well, what if I poke it? Well, what if it's green? Well, what if it's like, they need those opportunities. And I think without that, you can't teach somebody something without giving them education.
There's a lot of competition. We have had cases of kids having relationships with GPT. You know, putting everything in GPT, asking questions about sex and about other things. I've had cases where a young lady was pleasuring herself with a toothbrush. And the mother is like, well, what should I do? Get her a vibrator, or she's gonna damage herself, you know, with a toothbrush. And it's like, oh, well, I don't want to, I'm enabling and stuff. No, she's gonna hurt herself. She's jugging herself with a toothbrush. You know, and she's not gonna stop pleasuring herself if you don't give her the right tools. I don't know what else to tell you, ma'am. But that's a dangerous situation
Yeah.
that your child is engaging in. So with all of the social media, YouTube videos and everything, we have a lot of competition. When I say we, someone that's old school, where I went to the Wayne County Health Department and, you know, my mother took me there and I walked out with a whole lunch bag full of pills for 6 months. And then I didn't have to come back for the next 6 months. Still embarrassed, because who wants to walk out in the waiting room and everybody else there for something else and you walking out with a brown lunch bag? Everybody know what the brown lunch bag means. So I'm like, Mama, you doing the most. You know, but, and on the health department's behalf, like, why even have that as your signature? You know, everybody walking out with a brown bag staple right there at Wayne County when it was open. But that's all that they knew. All my mother told me about sex was, I had you in my senior year. I don't want to be your grandmother, and you don't want to be no mother at that age. So we're gonna do something to prevent it. My life was hard. So we're gonna take you to get these pills. That's all she said about sex is don't get pregnant. So all of the other stuff, you know, the STDs, what it should feel like, what it shouldn't feel like, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. None of those conversations were even talked about. What's consent, what's not consent. You don't have to, that sex don't mean love. You know, none of that stuff. My mother didn't talk to me about it. So we need to start talking to our kids and be open and honest about it. If you too embarrassed or you feel like it's too sensitive, find somebody that will. I'm that person in my family. They send them straight to me and we talk about what it is. You know, because that ignorance of what they do not know can be very dangerous.
And then my 2 cents. Working in higher education, I realized that a lot of students are not smart. And they think that porn is real, and they don't understand the concept of sex as a whole. When it comes to it, so those things about they don't know what these diseases or viruses are, they don't know at all. We used to do an activity when I first started called Kinky Socks. So we had an event where students would just come and just wear whatever type of random socks they want to do. It's kind of like ugly t-shirt contest, but with socks. And then we gave them candy, random candy. They did not know what the candy was for. We told them not to eat it. We said, keep the candy, whatever candy you want to keep. And then each candy represented a different type of virus, disease, whatever it may be. And then we told them, all right, trade your candy with other students in the room. So whatever candy that you don't want, you know, trade it. So if you didn't want like I don't know, Almond Joy, could have been syphilis, or, you know, Snickers could have been like gonorrhea or whatever. So they would change, they would swap it around and whatnot. And then we told them which each candy represented, and then we told them, you see how quickly it is for you to contract something with somebody? And we explained what each one of the diseases and viruses was and all that good stuff to help them kind of understand that. So yeah, that was like a fun way to engage students and help them kind of understand in a way. We also understand that students, especially with males, they don't understand what harassment is or consent at all. In no way, shape, or form. They think that flirting to a certain extent, they think that harassment is a form of flirting. So they don't really know that borderline. They don't know that if someone does not say yes, it's not consent. They think that just because, you know, you agreed yesterday to do something, and today that, you know, if they don't want to do it, they think that, oh, well, you said yes yesterday, so you might as well do it. But yeah, a lot of students, they really don't know. They talk to their friends, or they find something on TV or whatever it may be, and it's kind of like, well, that's not really it. And I personally do not believe that safe spaces exist. I call them brave spaces, so you can be brave enough to speak up. We cannot guarantee that something will stay inside a room in that sense, but I understand the concept of safe spaces. But brave spaces encourage people to actually speak up and say how they feel. So I think we need more spaces for, like to your point, for young adults to speak about what they're going through and learning about what sex is and how to actually do it in a sense, because all sorts of things are happening. These students tell me all sorts of stuff that I do not want to know. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna piggyback off of what she said about her mom or parents is not actually was there to educate her on stuff like that. The crazy thing about that for me in high school, I did book reports about all different types of HIV and STDs and STIs, and still messed around and turned out to be HIV positive. So it's like all the education that I did to everybody else and for myself, and I still turned out positive was absolutely insane. But and even with trying to have conversations with my son, I have a 20-year-old son, and he used to be like, yeah, Mom, I'm good. I don't want to have a conversation. I'm like, I get it, but guess what? We're going to have it anyway. Because I'd be darned if you go out here and do something, and I'm at home, and I could have had that opportunity to educate you, and you don't want to listen, you're going to listen today. I don't care how uncomfortable it may feel.
Yeah.
I'd rather for you to be uncomfortable than go out here and be uncomfortable.
Just a tidbit, I think teaching our children that when boys hit them, that means they like them, is starting a cycle early of abuse. And that's why a lot of people don't know what consent is, and that's why they don't know harassment or abuse or, can I say rape in here? Okay, rape when they see it, because we were taught early as women, as girls, that if a boy is aggressive to you or abusive to you, it's because they like you and they don't have a way to show it. So they hit you and punch you and be mean to you. And then you grow up and you believe the same thing. And then that leads to you never actually said yes to nobody, but you never even knew you had the option. Imagine growing up and realizing you never knew about consent. Like, did I ever give myself to somebody, or did it just happen?
Oh my gosh.
Cause I don't really remember saying yes. Not saying everybody raped me, but I don't remember consenting, honestly. It's just something that happened. And I think we start that. I got a 3-year-old too, so we big on consent now since since I am fully aware you can't even look at her too hard without asking. But those things are tidbits as parents that it's not a lot, but it's something I think that adds up to something bigger if we don't teach it to them younger. Because a boy hitting me does not mean he like me. If a man beat my butt, it doesn't mean he loves me. But if that's what I've been told all my life, how am I supposed to know the difference in college? Instead, I'm coming to him now crying, cause he beat me all the time, he loved me, what's wrong? All right, I'm done.
I do want to say, I think it's very important that the church and the faith community get involved in this area as well, and to have the conversation. I'll say this, I had probably my second or third year here, I had a Bible study on sexuality in the black church, and I had a lot of adults who didn't show up. They didn't show up, and someone's like, well, you know, I know what it is and all that, but at some point we have to be willing. For me, there's no topic that's off limits, particularly when it comes to the church, because we're dealing with people and we're dealing with people's lives, and we ought this to be the one place where people can get the accurate information that will affect their lives. And so, and I've made certain with our youth ministry and things of that nature that they had the conversations. We've had ER nurse who had our young people, they were teenagers, and they showed them pictures of the effects of syphilis and gonorrhea and things of that nature not talked about. And they, you know, and they had their heart-to-heart conversations with them, because we cannot put our heads up under a pillow in the sand somewhere thinking that it's just going to happen, because they will get the information, whether it's the correct information. That's what we have to be intentional about. And if it doesn't come from a place that should perpetuate the right way to do things, then we have nothing to say when they get the wrong way. and the wrong map. So I think that we have to be willing, you know, now, years ago, when I was preaching and I was teaching, I would talk about this stuff. I had a pastor put me to the side and say, well, Doc, you teaching my young people that it's okay to have sex. And I said, well, no, I'm trying to teach the young people that they ought not die because they had sex. They ought not put themselves in a situation because they've had something that most of us, if not all of us, have had at their age, but we just didn't get caught up. So, but that's sort of the trend that fights. But I do believe that it should be a part of a regular curriculum with our teenagers to let them know we understand, we hope and pray that you save yourself for marriage, but that's just not happening. Everyone is not saving themselves for marriage. I don't know the last time I married a couple who were virgins. I don't even expect it. I'm being honest with you. I don't even expect it because I believe people, I have to be real. I believe there's the ideal and then there's the real. I live in the real realm. And so at the end of the day, we want to make certain that people make the best choices with the best information and the best intelligence that's available to them. And our young people, I'm old school rap. The stuff they got now, I have no idea, but I got teenagers. So it's very important for me, and I keep Urban Dictionary app. So when I hear anything that sounds funny, I'm looking it up. Because I will find what buttercream and all that stuff means. You know, I'm just being honest. Because we have to be real, we have to be 100% with our young people because stuff is coming at them at a different pace than, you know. We had the growing magazines and that kind of stuff. Now they have the internet. It doesn't even compare to someone having a Hustlers magazine up under the pillow or something like that compared to what's available now. So we have to step up our game, and I believe that the church has a part to play in the education of our young people and our youth so that we can help them, at least give them the information. We can't make a horse drink water, but you can make the horse thirsty by giving it oats.
Woo! Come on, Pastor.
Thank you all for that. And then just one little last thing. Also using the appropriate words and terminology. I think a lot of people like to sugarcoat things like he touched my blah blah blah, my patty cake. It's like, okay, what does that mean? Use your actual words. But anyway, just to close this out real quick, I would like for everyone to answer this question in about 30 seconds. So everyone, 30 seconds. So in our closing question, if you could leave everyone with one key message about HIV awareness and prevention, what would it be?
Right.
And I'm gonna start over here.
Everybody, HIV positive. 30 seconds.
Know your status. Now let me see you break that time.
I feel bad, man.
That one was hard. Okay. Be you, be healthy.
Okay.
Be compassionate with passion, with love.
Love on yourself and get tested.
My mission in life is not to merely survive, but to thrive, and do so with some passion and compassion, some style and some humor.
Right up front. Right up front.
Well, thank you all for one coming, viewing, and thank you to our panelists, our wonderful panelists. So please give them a round of applause. Thank you. And yeah, that concludes our panel. I didn't know if Trisha was gonna come back up, but thank you all.
Good job, y'all.
Oh, that was amazing. Please, let's give this panel and our facilitator a round of applause. Again, we want to thank our pastor, my brothers, Dr. I don't even know your name, Lord have mercy, Reverend Dr. John E. Duckworth, for not just this, for opening your heart to humanity Because that's what it boils down to. It's not about Christianity and all these isms and schisms. It's about humanity. It's about us opening our hearts to people, no matter what their circumstance is. If we're not doing that, we are falling short of our duty, because it is our duty to be what the community needs. So I thank you tremendously, and we love you for what you have done. Mia, thank you for being the light, for being who you are, for your creativity, for your love, for just who you are. Thank you, Marlene. Thank you so much for what you do, for your sacrifice for community. Ashley, thank you. Our bookworm, our researcher, thank you. And to our executive director, Valerie, we thank you for your commitment to community. We thank you for your heart for humanity. And Jarrell, thank you as well for just doing such an amazing job, but not just that, for all of the work that we did together to put this together. And while we don't have a lot of people here, I'm gonna take it back to, I'm a preacher too. Where 2 or 3 are gathered together, we are in the midst of the living God. And so we thank you. We even thank Tyler for being here, because we are going to be able to spread this message out. And so, stay tuned. You can see it on social media. You can see it on YouTube. But we want to get this word out. This is a tour. So our next tour stop, likely, I believe, is Inkster. We'll be partnering with the Inkster Task Force, and that is going to be sometime in August. So stay tuned. And all of our vendors, let's thank our vendors as well. The Corner Health, Wayne County Health Department, GMBC, Higera. We want to thank all of Detroit Wind. And we thank the sister back here. I don't know who you are, but you just have such an amazing, fiery spirit. So thank you so much. Now, lastly, let's do what we should have done before we started. Show the PSA, and then we will be done. We were going to show a video today, and we did not, but we are going to put up on SOAR's Facebook page, A Sick Church Can't Save a Dying World. It is a documentary that has been done. And Valerie is in this video, Pastor Duckworth is in this documentary, and it just highlights how we as a body of Christ fall short when it comes to helping those that are supposedly stigmatized with living with HIV. And so, Jarrell, you can go ahead and I'll get out of the way, and then we will be done. I guess that's a no-go, so we'll put that up as well. The sound is not working. And I don't know how to use the board back there. Is your sound on? Okay. All right, well, we will send this out. It's just a PSA that kind of talks about what's going on in the Outwayne. Outwayne is Garden City, Westland, Inkster, Belleville, Romulus, and all these areas. But again, thank you all so much for being here, and have a wonderful day. Please stop on the way out and get yourself some snacks so that I don't have to take everything home. Have a wonderful day, and God bless you.
There are 43 cities in Wayne County. Out of that number, Inkster, Westland, Romulus, and Garden City are responsible for 1/3 of the HIV cases. Out of that number, 8 out of 10 is a Black woman. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, human immunodeficiency virus is a virus that attacks the body's immune system. If HIV is not treated, it can lead to AIDS, the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. There is currently no effective cure. Once people get HIV, they have it for life. But with proper medical care, HIV can be controlled. People with HIV who get effective HIV treatment can live long, healthy lives and protect their partner. Black women continue to be disproportionately impacted by HIV. accounting for nearly 60% of new HIV infections in the U.S., despite making up less than 15% of the female population. Sister, heal. It's time to keep it real. It is time for a renewed prioritization of Black women's HIV prevention needs. Novel, multimodal interventions that are structurally and culturally competent, feasible to implement, cost-effective, and provide Black women with PrEP knowledge and access to services are necessary if HIV among women in the U.S. is ever going to be fully addressed. Pre-exposure prophylaxis, also known as PrEP, is a crucial tool in the fight against the ongoing HIV epidemic and, when taken as prescribed, is highly effective at preventing infection from sexual contact or injection drug use. But more than a decade after the first PrEP drug was approved for the U.S. market, one of the groups that would benefit most from the medication isn't taking them: Black women. Doctors, public health researchers, and those who provide HIV treatment and prevention services say long-standing systemic factors such as stigma and racism are major barriers to PrEP uptake among Black women. Sister, heal. It's time to keep it real. And SOOAR would like to give you the freedom to hold conversations differently than you would with medical providers. SOOAR is partnering with local and state health departments to host informal conversations with community members to increase PrEP knowledge, interest, and uptake among Black women. Sister, heal. It's time to keep it real.